in the back seat so that when you're driving, you see the face of the rear view mirror. That would just be terrible, wouldn't it? Probably won't happen, and we can laugh about it now because we're all together. But you fucking wait till you're alone. I don't mean to make light of it because I am interested in the subject of death because it's the one experience that we all have to go through that nobody has been able to testify to with any real surety. Certainly there are books about people who claim to have died for 20 minutes or 10 minutes and they see a white light and Jesus comes on a pony or but I'm not sure how much I believe those things. The thing is, it's this great event in human life, and what I would like to believe is that it's like some of the other great transitions in our lives, the first love, the first really good sexual experience, partnership. I'd like to think that that when death comes at the end, that it is a sort of euphoric event. So it's presented here that Dan is a kind of guide, if you will, to the other side.
You ever considered a career in stand-up comedy?
Let me say one thing, and then you can translate your ass off. I just want to say that a lot of these things are deeply felt in my heart, but not understood completely by my mind. I'm an instinctive writer. I'm not a rational writer. I'm interested in the emotions. And so I have a tendency to joke about what I do as a form of just kind of keeping anything that's too personal at bay. But tonight, this one night, I will tell you everything.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ja, ich glaube, ein Geheimnis seines Erfolges, sagt er, ist, sich selbst auch nicht zu ernst zu nehmen und auch die doch sehr dunklen Materien, die er anpackt, nicht zu ernst zu nehmen und dadurch eine gewisse Distanz auch zu haben. Ich hatte ihn gefragt, warum Tod in dieser Form für ihn so ein großes Thema ist. Und der Tod kommt in seinen Büchern ja in vielerlei Hinsicht auch sehr brutal und gewalttätig vor. In diesem Fall, die Szene, die er vorgelesen hat, sehr sanft.
I was, when I would say, 23, 24 years old, when I dared death on a regular basis, you know. I had a big ass Harley Davidson and I rode without a helmet, and you know, I did all the stupid things that young people do, and I was terrified that I was going to have an accident or get a fatal disease, one of those things, because at 24 you have a lot of years ahead of you. Whereas right now, I feel like, yes, I would like to live to be, I think maybe 130. I don't know if my wife will love it. It's hard to tell. But if I live to be 130.
Just refrain from decaying too early. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, if you're going to live to 130, you got to try to have, you know, like no prostate trouble, no gallbladder trouble. But the thing is, if I die now, at least nobody will say, oh gosh, Stephen King died, and he died young. What a shock it was with all that unfulfilled
was zu trinken brauchte. Du kannst mich mal, Ma. Seine Stimmen klangen leise, aber ehrlich. Er nahm das Geld, stopfte es sich in die Hosentasche, steckte das Portemonnaie wieder in die Handtasche und drehte sich um. Ein kleiner Junge stand vor ihm. Er war etwa 18 Monate alt und trug ein T-Shirt mit dem Logo der Atlanta Braves. Das reichte ihm bis zu den Knien, aber die Windel, die er darunter trug, war trotzdem sichtbar, denn sie war voll und hing knapp über den Knöcheln. Dans Herz machte einen gewaltigen Sprung in der Brust und in seinem Kopf tat es plötzlich einen so furchtbaren Schlag, als hätte Thor seinen Hammer darin geschwungen. Einen Moment lang war er sich völlig sicher, einen Schlaganfall oder Herzinfarkt oder beides zu erleiden. Dann sog er tief die Luft ein und atmete wieder aus. Wo kommst du denn her, kleiner Held? Mama, sagte der Junge, was in gewisser Weise den Nagel auf den Kopf traf. Schließlich war auch Dan aus seiner Mama gekommen, aber keine hilfreiche Antwort war. Eine schreckliche Schlussfolgerung versuchte sich in Dans dröhnendem Kopf zu bilden, aber damit wollte er überhaupt nichts zu tun haben. Er hat gesehen, wie du das Geld genommen hast. Schon möglich, aber das war nicht die betreffende Folgerung. Wenn der Kleine das gesehen hatte, na und? Er war noch nicht mal 2. So kleine Kinder nahmen alles hin, was Erwachsene taten. Wie heißt du denn, Kleiner? Dans Stimme pulsierte im Takt mit seinem Herzen, das sich immer noch nicht beruhigt hatte. Mama. Tatsächlich. Das wird deine Mitschüler aber freuen, wenn du in die Highschool kommst. Kommst du aus der Wohnung nebenan oder von gegenüber? Bitte sag ja, denn die Schlussfolgerung lautet, wenn der Kleine das Kind von Dini ist, dann ist sie auf Kneipentour gegangen, während der Junge in dieser beschissenen Wohnung eingesperrt war. Allein. Mama! Dann sah der Junge das Koks auf dem Couchtisch und tapste darauf zu. Zucker! Nein, es ist kein Zucker, sagte Dan, obwohl es tatsächlich welcher war. Nasenzucker. Ohne auf ihn zu achten, griff der Junge mit einer Hand nach dem weißen Pulver. Als er das tat, sah Dan auf seinem Oberarm blaue Flecke, solche, die entstanden, wenn man mit der Hand zudrückte. Er packte den Kleinen in die Taille und zwischen den Beinen. Während er ihn aufhob und vom Tisch wegschwenkte, kam ihm ein Bild in den Sinn, kurz, aber qualvoll klar. Der Dini ähnelnde Typ auf dem Foto im Portemonnaie, wie er den Jungen hochhob und schüttelte und dabei die Abdrücke seiner Finger hinterließ. Hey Tommy, ich hab dir doch gesagt, du sollst abhauen. Ist das so schwer zu kapieren oder was? Hör auf, Andy. Er ist doch noch...
My son read the book, my son Owen, the younger boy. Well, he's not a boy anymore, he's mid-30s. But it'll always be my little boy. He read the scene, he read the book, and he said, Dad, I think that this book is really good, but what would make it stronger is if we saw a scene of Dan Torrance at his absolute worst as an active alcoholic. And I thought, looking back on my own checkered past, that I could probably do a pretty good singing that had those elements in it.
Diese Szene war ursprünglich in der Originalversion, in der ersten Version, die er geschrieben hat, gar nicht drin. Und sein Sohn, sein jüngster Sohn, ist gelesen und sagte, da fehlt noch eine Szene, wo Dan selber an seinem Tiefpunkt angelangt ist. Und dann stand dadurch diese Szene, und da er selber Erfahrung mit dem Teufel Alkohol hat, hat er gesagt, hat er ein paar gute Ideen, wie er das einbauen könnte. Which leads me to a question which I know you've talked openly about frequently in the past. How much of what we can read there is shaped by your own experiences with alcohol?
Before I answer that question, was that a tremendous reading or what?
Yeah.
I don't speak German, but I can hear the music. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, in terms of alcohol, one of the things that I wanted to do in Dr. Sleep was kind of balance the books, bringing the scales back into balance. Jack Torrance is an alcoholic who practices what's called white-knuckle sobriety. He doesn't have any kind of a support group. He doesn't go to AA. Alcoholics Anonymous isn't even mentioned in The Shining. And one of the things that occurred to me over the years when I thought about Danny was alcoholism is a disease that is both hereditary and also environmental. It has two ways that it can get people. If your close relatives drink, you have a greater propensity to drink alcoholically yourself. And if you're in an environment where a lot of people are using booze as a matter of course in the day, that also ups your chances. And Jack never goes to AA or never joins any kind of a support group because frankly, at that time, I was drinking very, very heavily, but I had no idea what AA was. I mean, theoretically, I knew that there was such a group out there somewhere, but it seemed to me that one of the glaring holes in the book was that Jack never tries to get sober with the help of others. And I thought that if I gave Danny that family disease, then I could put him in some sort of a support group. And I saw ways I could use that in the story. The story isn't supposed to be any kind of a lecture or any kind of a sermon about alcoholism. What it's supposed to do is to talk a little bit about the destructive behaviors that addictions lead us into.
Just like that.
Clown.
Maybe the harsher K, yeah.
So I created Pennywise the Clown in it, and then what happened was ABC came along and said they wanted to make a mini-series out of it, and they wanted to cast Tim Curry as Pennywise.
But it'd be scary to go without a clown mask on.
I thought it was a really strange idea, but it really worked, and it scared a whole generation of young people and made them scared of clowns, but clowns are scary, I think, for children to start with.
But you don't dream of Pennywise.
I'm sorry?
You don't dream of Pennywise.
No, I don't exactly dream of Pennywise, but there are scenes in that book that did kind of haunt me and give me nightmares at the time. But the thing is, I don't, as a general rule, have nightmares. I think of the most awful things I can think of and pass them on to you. So it's great. I get rid of them, I get paid, you get nightmares, it all works.
It's a great deal, right? You enjoy it. So what do you think makes people actually scared? Well, that's a question for me again. I mean, what is it? You touch their own fears?
Well, what scares people is variable. It's uniquely variable. But I think that for me, what's worked over across all the years is to forget about the idea of scaring people. What I want to do is to tell a story where there are characters that people like. And Dr. Sleep is the only sequel, but I was not able to let the Losers Club from it go completely. There was Eddie Kasbrak and there was Ben Hanscom and Beverly and Richie and all those guys. And I brought Beverly and Richie back in 11/22/63 because I wanted to see them again, you know? So I just did. They're like old friends. And the idea is that if you can create characters that readers care about, the way that they care about people in their neighborhood or their family, and then if you put them in jeopardy, the terror or the suspense and the horror comes with that. One of the reasons that some of the horror movies aren't very scary is because the characters are two-dimensional and we don't care about them much.
That's a good point. Ein Grund, warum sein Schreiben funktioniert, warum es Angst macht, ist, weil er sich sehr darum bemüht, die Charaktere so zu gestalten, dass die Leser sie mögen. Und wenn man diese Gestalten, die man dann als Leser mag, in gefährliche Situationen geraten, dann hat man für sie quasi Angst, weil wir als Menschen ja eben auch Empathie empfinden haben. Und auf die Eingangsfrage, er selber hat jetzt nicht unbedingt Angst oder träumt von seinen Charakteren, aber so ein paar Mal hat ihn das schon damals, als er es geschrieben hat, hat ihn das verfolgt, der Clown und die Geschichte.
Your books helped me a lot, and I became a published writer too because of you. And I don't think I'm the only one. So, did you ever think about when you wrote your first books that you would influence so many people on this level?
I never had any idea. I was just having fun, and when the books got published, to me it was like a dream come true because I could do what I love for money.
And also
support my family. That was a great thing. Yeah, Carrie did go in the trash, but at that time I was writing a lot of short stories. We were a young family with 2 kids and no money, and the short stories were providing the difference between poverty level and actually being able to take the baby to the doctor once in a while, those $200 checks. And Carrie turned into a story that was going to be too long to sell to a magazine, so I threw it in the trash. And my wife picked it up and brushed off all the cigarette butts and uncrumpled it and started to read it. And she has a little cat-like smile that she gets on her face. Probably the smile you guys get on your face when I try to speak German. Because I was trying to write about women, and I said, it's not very good, is it? And she said, it's very good, and I will help you, and she did. That's how
bewusst war, dass er mit seinen Werken auch andere Autoren, junge Autoren, Nachwuchsautoren beeinflusst hat über die Jahre. Und er sagte, nee, das war nie die Absicht, er hat es einfach getan, weil er Freude am Schreiben hatte. Und seine Frau das Manuskript für Carrie nicht aus dem Müll gefischt hätte, dann säßen wir vielleicht heute Abend nicht hier. So, thanks to Terry. Weitere Fragen hier, der Zufallskegel-Lichtspot-Kreis. Ich habe ehrlich gesagt keinen Einfluss darauf, da sieht jetzt jemand. Ja.
It's like a disco without music.
I know. Ich glaube, ist das hast du dich festgelegt da oder kreist du noch? Nee, hier vorne, okay. I have a question over there.
The suspense is killing me.
Hello, I'm Falco. One question, there are, in many of your books, there are many small references to the Dark Tower series. For example, in Hearts in Atlantis, where a gunslinger is mentioned in just one tiny little sentence. Do you plan that from the beginning to link that book to the Dark Tower series? Does it happen on the fly, or do you think, well, let's give them some sugar to the fans and just make that one small sentence up there?
No, they're not just cookies that are scattered around for the fans. The gunslinger is mentioned in Hearts in Atlantis, and there's a story in there, the very first one. It's one of my favorite stories. It's about the low men in the yellow coats, and well, no, that's okay. And the low men are creatures from Midworld, which is the world inhabited by Roman. And all I know is that from the very beginning of that story, I wanted to link our world, our real world, to the fantasy world of Midworld as much as I could. And the more time that went by, the more it seemed to me like I also wanted to link it to my own work and try to create a tapestry that encompassed everything that I could think of. It was a really ambitious idea, but at that time I was in my 20s, and the world was my oyster, and I felt confident to reach for anything. So there are references to the Dark Tower all through the other work. The Crimson King appears, for instance, in Insomnia, a book that put many critics to sleep, but what can I say?
Ja, also die Frage war, ob es viele diese Verknüpfungen, die Referenzen, die Anspielungen. I'm sure they'll check their shower curtain tonight when they come home, so thank you for that. Let me conclude with one last question. Is there one question at events like this you've always wanted to be asked and have never been asked? Use a chance to reply to that. Okay. You once wrote, writing is about enriching your own life and the life of your readers. I'm pretty sure that not only writing, but reading and talking to your readers has enriched their lives, and that very much. Thank you very much for that. Steve King! I also, of course, want to thank David Nathan or David Nathan for reading tonight.